I'm just going to hit record. Hello and welcome to another episode of the Unstoppable Network. We're here today, lovely, beautiful outside in Kingsville, Ontario at the Kingsville branch. I believe it's 188.
Yes.
188. Funny thing is, my grandfather was past president back in 1981. His picture is up on the bar, I should say. I don't know. I like throwing that in once in a while. But anyways, we're here with Morris. Morris is a veteran, and we just finished the C2C mental health walk here in Kingsville. So sorry if I'm all sweaty, hot, and looking kind of gross. But I have the distinct honor of interviewing Morris. So Morris, tell us a little bit about yourself.
Well, I'm very pleased to be here, and I can tell you that I joined the military back in 1974 and spent 40 years and 2 months in the military. I graduated from the Royal Military College and served with the Princess Patricia's Canadian Light Infantry and a few other regiments, finishing my career as a colonel. And I had the honor of coming down to Windsor back in 2005 and taking command of the garrison in the Essex and Kent Scottish Regiment here for full-time service, and finished my career in Afghanistan in 2014.
Wow. That is quite a career.
Yeah, it was a great career.
Thank you for your service, first of all.
Thank you.
I'm really honored to actually you're my second Canadian veteran. Mm-hmm. I've interviewed a lot of Americans. No, you're my third, sorry. I forgot about Bruce. So I'm really excited. My uncle also served. He was stationed out in Kingston and Calgary.
Oh, yes.
But unfortunately, I wasn't doing this show back then when he was alive. So I can't interview him. But I still have like a lot of cousins and that serve. The Meekings out of Bell River. I don't know if you know Rick Meeking.
Yes. Yeah.
You know Rick?
Yeah.
Rick is my cousin. Yeah. So, and his dad... Wow, that guy was a military guy. Let's just put it that way. Hard ass. Love Uncle Tom. He's no longer with us either, but his entire, I think all of his kids had served at one point. It's been a while since I talked to that family, so that's kind of cool that you know them. So what would you say was your best moment in your career?
Oh my goodness, there's so many great moments. I guess I'd like to say something first about the great moments. You know, having been an officer and finishing off as a senior officer, probably the most meaningful thing to me was the honor, not the right, the honor of serving with soldiers and having them under my command, and how proud I was of the Canadian soldiers. And I have a lot of great memories. An example, I commanded a combat team of over 450 soldiers in Bosnia in 1994, and just the tremendous work they did in a very difficult environment, and just seeing how professional they were, it was just a great honor. Obviously, I enjoyed Afghanistan. It was a very unique position. It was a final stint in my career, and that was very, very meaningful to me. But I think there's not one certain one I can say. I think the biggest thing is just watching Canadians serve their country, serve people around the world, and truly, personally understand why Canadians are so respected around the world, because we truly go to help people. We don't go there to make them better Democrats or better Republicans or liberals or whatever. We're not focused on things like that. We're focused on trying to bring stability and peace to people. Because, you know, everywhere I've gone in my career, it doesn't matter who starts a conflict or whatever. The reality is there's innocent people on all sides that are constantly hurt. And I think this is one of the biggest problems that people have, like myself, when they end up with PTSD, post-traumatic stress injuries. We say injuries, not disorder anymore, because frankly it's not a disorder. It is an injury. Mm-hmm. and it can be helped. So right. I know that's probably not answering the question directly, but there's just not one specific period. I was just so honored for 40 years.
That's truly humbling to hear that. I think I'm past like 100 now, interviewing past 100 veterans that I've interviewed over the last 5 years, and each story truly blesses me. because, you know, everyone's different. I mean, yes, they've all served, but there was different ways that they served and things like that. So it's truly an honor to hear your story. What made you decide to go into the military?
Well, you know, I was a very good student, but I was from a broken family, and we didn't have any money at all to look at university. I wanted to go to university. I wanted to try to do something with my life, and I was in the cadet movement, the Army cadet movement, and they told me about a thing called the Royal Military College. So I ended up applying, and I got in. My plan, honestly, was to get my 4 years of university under my belt, serve my 4 years, and get out. I retired 14 years, 2 months later. I just enjoyed it so much, the experiences, and I didn't want to leave, so I left at the age of 60.
That is so funny, because literally every veteran I interview says the same thing. They either went in because of a friend, or they went in to get free education, which technically, guys, it's not free because you do sign the dotted line to your life away.
That's right.
And I don't care who you are or how long you served or if you've been in combat or if you have not been in combat. The intent was that you put your life on the line for your country. So that's awesome. I think that's why my nephew, the one nephew that I have in service, is like, oh yeah, we'll sign up for the education and see what happens, and stay for the experience, stay for the brotherhood, stay for the camaraderie. So what was your experience like transitioning out of the military?
Well, it was an interesting time. There was almost two transitions, because in 2003 I finally crashed with PTSD, and I couldn't even go into work. I started getting detailed therapy with a wonderful man named Dr. Don Richardson, who still is working with veterans in London, Ontario. I was in Hamilton at the time, and I wasn't sure I was able to carry on, but through a lot of work for a couple of years of serious counseling, they got me back on my feet, and I got back into doing my job. And lo and behold, as I mentioned earlier, in 2013, I went over to Afghanistan and finished off my career. So I was ready to transition. There was still lots of things that had to be done. I was being medically released because I was injured in Afghanistan, although it was the end of my career, thank God, because I loved my career so much. Not everybody is lucky that way when they're injured in the military. Sometimes they have to find something else, and I didn't have to do that. The transitioning and the help from Veterans Affairs was wonderful, and it continues to be very, very helpful. And so that was my big thing. The first 3 weeks when I retired, I thought, oh, this is really cool. And then it took me 18 months to get used to it after that, because I'm an A-squared personality. I volunteer for everything under the sun, and I just keep busy. But one of the biggest transitions I did is in 2017, I started to work with respectcanada.org, which is an organization that helps with all first responders and their families and peer support groups, and getting together and talking about how we can help people that are suffering from PTSIs, operational stress injuries, etc. And I've taken it to heart, and it's frankly been a bit of my salvation.
So that is, I'm trying to think of the right word. I'm not going to say unique, but I have a 7-step program that I use, and the last one is giving back. Because I think giving back is important. And I think, I started this show because, number one, I wanted to know that people were never alone in their circumstances, that there's always hope, and that people are never alone. And I had the distinct pleasure of my very first veteran that I interviewed was back in January 31st of 2021. I'll never forget that day. His name was Greg Bicknell. He was a 28-year Air Force veteran from the United States Army, or Air Force, sorry. And he had shared a story where he had attempted suicide, I think it was 3 times, before he finally reached out for help and was told to make an appointment. And I was just like, what? And he said, exactly. And so he made it that was his stepping stone to saying, okay, you know, if I, as somebody who's been in here for 28 years, has this hard a time trying to get help, what are the new guys going to come across, right? So he spent the rest of his time in service, and outside of service, he ended up starting a nonprofit. At that time was Camaraderie Rescue Mission. I was co-chair for that organization for 2 years. And when he told me that 22 veterans a day were dying by suicide back then, of course the numbers have tripled since then, I knew that I had to be part of the solution and help veterans in any way possible. And that's why we connect with veterans like yourself and veteran organizations that help people with PTSD, PTSI, TBIs, traumatic brain injuries for civilians that don't know those terms, and different organizations such as Helping the Heroes, and Angels 14 is another organization that I meet with on Fridays at noon. Sorry guys, I wasn't there today, but you know, it's just all about camaraderie, connection.
Yes.
Because that's, you know, when somebody transitions out of the military, the number one thing they lose is, number one, the identity, because that's who they were.
Yes.
You know, serving their country. They're used to a time schedule. You know, you got to get up at a certain time. You got to do this. Commanding officer says you got to be here, there, whatever. Now you're home. You have no idea what to do with your spouse, with yourself, and your spouse has no idea what to do with you because you're home and in their space. and so I love talking to our veterans because they're like, yeah, I can identify. And so what would you think helped you the most in your transition from military to civilian life?
I believe I maintain contact with my comrades, because I hope people take this the right way. There's nothing quite like the comradeship that you make in the military. Closest to that would be our police services and our fire and rescue and our EMS teams and people like that are, you know, the hospital staff that are doing some of the amazing things that they do to help save lives, and they're in those traumatic circumstances. So I tried to maintain that. You know, I'm not here to preach, but I'm a man of faith, and that has been tremendously important for me, because when Afghanistan fell again, after all the work we did there, I was very, very depressed, and I had to really rely on that. And so those are the things that helped me to keep moving. My family were wonderful. My friends were wonderful. I never lost the comradeship. I didn't want to leave the comradeship of the military. And I can tell you that's not the way it always happens. There are some veterans, God bless them, they've soldiered hard and they just can't even face that because it brings too many sad memories back.
Right.
But yeah, that's just a reality. And unfortunately, I don't know if it's the time to bring it up, but unfortunately, even though all the work that I do with Respect Forum, and I do it every 6 months for the London area, the Chatham, Leamington area, and Windsor area, and running these forums, which has been very helpful for me. What really finally brought me down was, unfortunately, the untimely death of my wife.
Oh, I'm so
last
sorry
November. She was only 68 years old and died of congestive heart failure when we were our 30th wedding anniversary together, and it was just a terrible shock. Our youngest daughter gave us birth of a beautiful grandson 12 weeks ago, and I finally had the crash that I didn't expect. And I'm not trying to get too emotional, but the reality is I'm one of those leaders that have always believed that you take care of the soldiers. And I never wanted to totally look at taking care of myself. And I was convinced to apply for a service dog. And this wonderful organization told me over a month ago that I had been accepted. And it's a godsend. Maybe the best message I can give to people is that sometimes you do have to take care of yourself. Otherwise, it's hard to take care of others. But I've always believed soldiers first. And that's just me.
Thank you for sharing that, Morris. And the organization you're talking about is Helping the Hero, right?
Yes, that's correct. Yeah.
And so Helping the Hero is here, I believe, in Kingsville. Correct me if I'm wrong.
Yes.
And the founders are Kim and Scott Trainer.
That's right. Yeah.
And funny enough, I worked with Scott at another organization for a little bit. So Scott is a wonderful guy, and we'll be interviewing him later. But I don't know too much about Helping the Hero. So can you tell us what that organization? So they connect you with a canine.
They do. There's a lot of good organizations, and I won't name them because I don't want to offend anybody. There's a lot of great organizations out there, and some supported by the Legion, of course, that are doing great work to support. But the problem is down in southwestern Ontario, where we have a lot of veterans serving and a lot of retired veterans. It's very difficult to get access to service dogs. So this wonderful group decided they're going to start funding, raising funds, and working with a wonderful man in this area. I'm not sure I'm allowed to mention his name, but I'll say his first name, Ryan, who's an outstanding trainer of dogs, and they're raising funds so that they can provide that service to veterans or serving members who really, really need it and are having a tough time getting access because there's a long waiting list. There's a lot of people across the country that need it, and it's not just veterans. It could be police service officers, it could be fire and rescue, EMS, it could be anybody that needs the dog. And the dogs take a lot of training. The dog I have here, who I've affectionately just named Twilight, New Beginning.
Oh.
She's a beautiful dog, Belgian Malinois, and it takes a lot of time to train. It's an expensive procedure to train, and it takes dedicated people like this fine gentleman, Ryan, who's trained this dog. And then, of course, they have to train this old soldier to work with the dog. And I've been doing that for the last month with absolute joy. And I can tell you that 2 nights ago, she started to live with me. And I'm just ecstatic. It fills a void. It really helps out. And I encourage anybody out there, if you know organizations like this that are trying to help out, it's greatly appreciated. Because not many soldiers, not many veterans can even afford to look at purchasing one of these dogs because it takes so much training, and it takes good people like Ryan, who in his own business has decided he wants to train some service dogs on the side at a far better price, frankly, than a lot of places, because he wants to support veterans. And I just admire, and this young man is 28 years old.
Oh my goodness.
And he's just brilliant. So Ryan, if you're hearing it, if you hear this, God bless you. And you're doing a great job.
The one thing that comes to my mind, because you keep saying the veteran or the hero first, and you put yourself first. And I love that. And I think more veterans need to hear that. So the veterans that are out there that are listening to this story, putting yourself first is definitely necessary. And I love that you did that for yourself, Morris.
Yeah, I was good at preaching that for since 2017 with respectcanada.org. And if you ever get a chance, folks, go on and you'll see this wonderful organization, totally voluntary. All the psychologists, people that come in, peer support groups, all volunteer their time. You don't even pay for your coffee and muffins when you come. And these are just wonderful because they're taking all of these wonderful stovepipes that are working on different ways to approach PTSI, and they're melding them together and learning from each other, and they're just immensely improving their programs to help.
Wow, I love that. I will have to check that organization out.
Yeah,
I never heard of that, and I love hearing new organizations and what they do for our veterans. There is a list that I received from a 80-year-old veteran from the States that has several organizations on there, both for the U.S. and Canada, for our veterans, that services from like A to Z. So go check us out on our website, theunstoppableovercomers.com. Go to the tab that says Veteran Resources, and they're all listed there. And I'm adding more to the list. Helping the Hero will be on there soon. once I get home and update the website. But there is, like you said, there's so many incredible organizations out there. Sorry, I can't talk. That help veterans. It's just getting the veterans to know about them.
Exactly, exactly, and it's so appreciated what people are doing to help veterans and serving members. And let me expand that. I would say helping first responders. You know, you look at a soldier in 40 years face some danger on a number of occasions, but not daily. Look at our police services and EMS and our people working in ERs, you know, emergency rooms and everything else. I would dare say they face it even more than I did in my career. We must remember that this is just not a unique thing that happens within the military. Not at all.
Yeah. Yeah. And, you know, I was speaking with another gentleman on our walk today, and a lot of veterans or first responders don't want to talk about mental health because, you know, the moment they think they do, they could lose their job. I've interviewed several police officers that it was, you don't even bring it up because you would lose your job. But I think it's getting better now, where that if you talk to your commanding officer or you talk to, you know, somebody within your precinct, there's like peer support groups and things like that. It's getting better, you know, and each person that tells their story, I think it gets a little bit easier. And, you know, for people to say, okay, wait a minute, you know, I do need help. And that's what today was all about, you know, this walk. Chad Kennedy's doing the walk C2C for PTSD. You know, Chad's another one that will admit that he faced his demon, right? He was, I think he said it was in August, I forget what year, that he was going to end his life. But then all of a sudden he saw a picture of his dad, and that reminded him to, you know, not give up. So whatever it is that you need to think about or to do to help you get through those moments. I know both in the States and Canada, 988 is available, especially if you're at that pivotal crisis moment. But there is so many great organizations out there, like the Canadian Mental Health Association is one of
wonderful.
them.
They're wonderful.
You know, talk to your Legion, see if they have anything out there. I was speaking with another guy today that was taught that that's what they do, and I forget the name of the organization, but I will put it in the show notes of this episode, and I will put it on our website too. It was great to hear another organization that was talking about helping people with their PTSD and traumatic brain injuries. So thank you, Morris, for sharing your story.
Well, you're welcome. If I can finish one more point.
Yes.
Every Legion branch across this country has a veteran service officer. And they have access to our provincial offices to get assistance when veterans are having issues. And I hope this sounds right, being able to go in through the back door to work with VAC, who is very overwhelmed with the number of people they need to help with, to find support. And if it's not veteran services, they have ways of finding other ways to give support. Legions, you know, they're not passé composé. I can tell you I didn't join a Legion until 20 years ago. I'm 71 years old, and I wish I joined years ago. They're a wonderful organization who truly care about the community, and a lot of young people are joining because of that.
Yes. That's fun. I was actually at this Legion. I've spent most of my teenage years at this Legion.
Oh, right on. Yeah.
You know, when we come into town to see Grandpa, we would come over here. He would bring us over here, and so growing up in this Legion, it was like when I stepped back in 20 years later, I was like, oh, you know, this felt like home.
Yeah.
So it's and here we are again today, right? So maybe Grandpa's looking down on us today. I don't know, but anyways, it's just a special moment to be here with you. And Twilight. I'll see if I can get Twilight in the picture here.
Twilight's just sitting down here beside me, very
there we go.
Docile, great companion.
I'll take a picture of him and we'll put it up on the within the show as well. But I really want to thank you for your time today, Morris.
Thank
it was
you very much.
absolutely a
I'm
pleasure.
very honored. Thank you.
I'm honored to be here with you, sir.
Thank you very much.
All right, folks. So stay tuned and check out our YouTube channel, The Unstoppable Network. Subscribe, share with all your friends, and remember, there is always hope and you're never alone. Same time, same channel next week. Bye for now.